Friends, imagine a life where your worth is not measured by beating others, where your achievements are for your fulfillment, where genuine contentment and satisfaction is just a part of your daily reality. Sounds too good to be true? Well, there is an art to being yourself, but you're going to have to be okay with pissing a lot of people off. My name is Miss Carol. I'm a former career teacher, now here with you, sharing everything that I've learned on my healing journey so that you can take these tools and create your own spiritual path. In this lesson, the quote that I want to highlight is from a book that I've read many, many times by Marianne Williamson, Law of Divine Compensation, which says, "On a spiritual plane, we have no competitors." Now, we have no competitors because we are all unique expressions of the Creator. How can a unique expression have any competition? It is a complete contradiction. Upon doing research for this video, I came across some pretty alarming stats about Instagram in particular that I'll read. 46% of girls 13 to 17 said social media made them feel worse about their bodies. The emphasis on physical appearance can create unrealistic expectation and promote consumerism. Spending only 3 hours a day on Instagram more than doubles your risk of anxiety and depression. And deep down, we probably all know these things, but unfortunately, the behaviors and the actions that we create in our lives rarely align with them. As you can see, I have cut all my hair off. And this is the second time I've cut all my hair off in my life. The first time I cut all my hair off was about 10 years ago. And it was for very practical reason. In my 20s, I had dreadlocks and they had gotten really long and really heavy. And I just got to a place where they just didn't feel genuine to me anymore. I just didn't want to carry them around literally and figuratively. So I shaved my head, and it was so amazing because for the first time in my life, I could just focus on my face, and I really recommend every woman and at least every or one point in her life shave her hair, or at least, cut it very short so you can just look at your face because you are so magnificent and beautiful. And we just adhere to these beauty standards that are just completely made up. I, again, was in my early 30s, and on the external, I was living this very holier than thou spiritual life. I was meditating. I had just cut all my hair off. I was just like, ooh, look at me. I'm living this spiritual life. It was very self-righteous and judgmental looking back at it at hindsight, because if I'm 100% honest with myself, which is what I aim to be as often as I can be, I was in the grips of a very unhealthy addiction to food. So my addiction looked like going long periods of time without eating, and then having really gnarly, 12 or 24-hour sessions where I would just eat everything in sight. And then I would just habitually work out. And I was on this cycle, on this hamster wheel for years. And it wasn't until I got diagnosed having fibroids that I really started to connect the dots between my eating habits and the health and the wellness of my internal narrative and the emotional and mental clutter that I had just allowed to build up year after year after year. And, the work that is required for your spiritual wellness is always internal. Because the truth is, children need external validation. When you are in your childlike mind, your childlike emotions, you need something on the external to validate all of the chaos that is in your mind. But when you are an adult, when you are standing in your adulthood, you understand that there is nothing on the external that will ever validate what you have on the internal. And so it really took a lot of uh, intentional work to kind of unmask these addictions that I had attached myself to for year after year after year. And, I also had a really eye opening, literally and figuratively, procedure when I was in my early 30s. I had LASIK surgery. I had worn glasses my entire life, had this surgery, and for the first time I could see, it wasn't. It sounds really kind of corny. It really does. But it really wasn't until I could see my face, only my face, without anything attached, without any hair, and I could literally see myself in the mirror, that I was just like, wow, I'm kind of awesome. I'm kind of beautiful. Like, what have I been trying to be other people for? You know? Um, but this is simple, but it is not easy. There are very practical things that you can do to become someone who is interesting. And, the thing about when you want to be desired, when you want to attract things into your life, you'd have to become those things. I've had so many wonderful epiphanies throughout my life. And one of the ones that has stuck with me the last several months is, if you want if you want someone to be interested, you have to be interesting. And there are a few really practical things that you can do to become the person that is interesting. And the first thing is to be accountable, to be responsible for your behavior. Again, children are always pointing the finger. He did it. It's her fault. It's this fault. They're looking for things to blame as opposed to taking personal accountability and responsibility. That is what children in their mind do. And I'm, again, so thankful that I spent so many years with young children, because I can clearly see the behaviors of those who are actually children and those who are adults in their childlike mind. So take accountability for your behavior. Be responsible. Embarrassment is, nobody really wants to be embarrassed, but if you can get to the other side of it, of like saying something that you was out of turn, or doing something that was a little off, you can really learn from it, and then you can become better. The next practical thing that you can do to become that interesting person who is not looking to compete with the world or compete with other people is to have emotional regulation. And this is a big one right now. This is a big one because we are living at a time when there are so many grown children, because people are just going off the whim of whatever emotion they are feeling at the time. Again, that is what children do. That is how children behave. And you understand it from children because they don't have any other frame of reference to draw from but their emotions. Though that's the truest manifestation for them. But when you are an adult, you put childlike things away. You have an emotion, but you don't have to express it. You are a sacred being. The things about you are sacred. Your sadness, your joy, your prosperity, your success, your all of the things that encompass you, that is sacred. There is something very unnatural about the way that we believe we need to just say the things that we feel. We need to say every thought that we have in our head. Keep those things to yourself. Those things are for you. They are for your spiritual path. They are that path. They are for your growth. Don't be so quick to just spew your emotions onto people, because it is very manipulative and can be also very cruel to do that, because people have their lives that they are living. And it is very unnecessary to insert yourself My emotions need to be heard right now. I don't care what life you have going on. I don't care what circumstances you're living right now. You need to hear my emotions. No. Okay? Emotional regulation. And the last one of another thing that you can do. I won't say the last because there are several things that you can do. These are just a few. But celebrate yourself. Celebrate yourself, and not just celebrate yourself. You be the first one to celebrate you. When we have a success or we have an achievement, we so often are quick to want to share it with people. Again, keep certain things to yourself. Let yourself sit with that for a little while. Man, I really accomplished that thing. That's the one of the great things that I love about getting in shape is that nobody is going to do it all on day one. It is a practice, but you can clearly see within a short amount of time, just maybe 30 days, how you have grown. Celebrate yourself. Be the first one that is your best cheerleader, that is cheering you on. You don't need anybody outside of you to cheer you on the way that you can be your best cheerleader. Again, this is why competition is such a false belief, is because it contradicts the uniqueness of you. Everybody's path is going to be unique. I didn't grow up with social media. I did not get a cell phone until I was 17 years old, until my first year of college. And this isn't a comparison. This isn't about like, oh, my childhood was better than yours because I didn't have technology. We didn't have social media. This is not about that. This is just from my perspective. I didn't have any control over what year I was born. This is just my path. But I can celebrate that uniqueness. I love the experiences that I've had, good and bad. The emotional regulation one really took me to a place because it's so, working with children for so many years has made it so much easier for me to work with adults, because there are so many of us who are just really caught in our childlike mental and emotional and spiritual habits, and we are so unconscious of them. We have distanced ourselves from the behavior that we exert into the world. So, what are some solutions? Well, specifically when it comes to social media, you have to set boundaries. You cannot just, be on social media to your heart's content. When I'm on TikTok, I know exactly when to stop scrolling. As soon as I feel like I am losing my consciousness, like I am not in, similar to when I'm drinking alcohol, as soon as I feel like, okay, I feel nice, I feel good, it's making me happy, but I know if I have that one more drink, it's going to take me to a place where I could do some bad things, or I could have the potential to have something not so good happen. Set a boundary for yourself. Know where your cutoff limit is. When I'm scrolling TikTok, the moment I feel like I am disassociated, like I'm just mindlessly scrolling, I stop and I put it down. Another thing you can do specifically with social media is, follow diverse accounts. Don't just follow one thing. Again, when you are interesting, you're going to have a myriad of interests. You're not just going to want to see, one thing in particular. If you're curious about something, do a deep dive into it for a day, for 2 days, for 3 days. Give yourself that opportunity to learn and to actually grow, because that is the gift of social media. So follow a diverse amount of accounts. Take breaks. Everyone should have a cutoff time, either both in the morning and in the evening, in terms of their digital lives. And I keep on hearing people say, well, my phone is my alarm clock. You can go to any store and get an actual alarm for like $8. You don't have to use that as an excuse. If you want an actual alarm, go get an alarm so that way you don't have to reach for your phone the first thing in the morning. In the evening, and it can be challenging. Oh my goodness, because we are so attached to our phones. We are so attached to technology. And I'm saying this to myself as much as I'm saying it to you. Put your phone in the kitchen, put your phone in the living room, put your phone someplace else. At least try it for the first, 20 minutes or 20 minutes before you go to bed. Then 30 minutes, then hour, then 2 hours. See how long you can go with taking a digital detox. And the last thing you can do is, practice self-love. Engage with in activities where you feel supported, where you feel nurtured, where you feel taken care of, and stay committed to them, because over my healing journey, I've had to walk away from many, 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 many different things, many different people, many different environments, a lot of social engagements, a lot of friendships I've had to walk away from, a lot of business opportunities I've had to walk away from. My spiritual health and wellness is the number one priority in my life. And since that is so, I have to daily check in. Okay, am I in alignment with that purpose? And this is not about, holding yourself to a standard of perfection, but just a touchstone. Okay, my intention is my spiritual wellness. I have that as my touchstone. Is this an accurate reflection? Are these decisions that I'm making a reflection of that? That way, again, you are focused on the internal and not on the external. When you are focused on the external, that will naturally breed competition. That will naturally breed a you versus them mentality, a me versus them mentality. Who do you want to be in 30 days? Who do you want to be in 60 days? Who would you like to be this time next year? Live your life with intention, because there is no competition on a spiritual plane. You are unique in the eyes and in the mind of our Creator, and it was designed on purpose. Please reach out to me if you have any questions. I would love to answer them. I'm here to serve. I wish you an abundance of joy, an abundance of wellness, an abundance of health, healing. My name is Miss Carol. I will see you next time, my friends. Be well.